Chapter 41 Gathering Yin and Condensing Soul. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ji Yang, who returned to the ancestral hall, was speechless. It seems that he overestimated these souls and made a wrong judgment. However, Ji Yang soon stopped worrying. The survival time this time was not short, so the harvest should be pretty good. The deduction is over. You have learned a new skill in this deduction, gathering Yin. You have learned a new magical power in this deduction, soul condensation. You have learned a new magical power in this deduction, armor covering. You have learned a new combat skill in this deduction, Taizu Changquan, gathering Yin. You can actively transform your life form and absorb Yin energy, soul condensation. You can spend a certain amount of life force to condense the soul, armor covering. You can spend a certain amount of life force to cover the leaf armor with the soul, Taizu Changquan. Huang level high-grade combat skill, can be transferred 3 times. Looking at the series of prompts, Ji Yang was overjoyed. He didn't expect that he would gain a lot this time. He actually had a technique, 2 magical powers, and a combat skill. It is not difficult to imagine that these skills and magical powers are closely related to his deduction this time, recalling the many living souls in the netherworld. If he could replicate them in this world, the Chen family would definitely become stronger. Finally, Ji Yang turned his attention to the yellow-level high-grade combat skill. If nothing unexpected happened, this should be the combat skill practiced by the living soul who first approached him every day. In this world, qi and blood are the way, and are supplemented by combat skills. Among them, there are 4 levels and 12 levels of martial arts and combat skills, namely heaven and earth Xianhuang, which are further divided into upper, middle and lower levels. The power of combat skills can greatly enhance the strength of a warrior. Some powerful combat skills can even explode into strength that surpasses the warrior's own strength. For example, the Chen family has been in decline for a long time. There is not even a decent combat skill in the family. Even the body-tempering realm warriors still rely on their own energy and blood, as well as some kung fu honed during hunting. Battle. At this moment, Taizu's Changquan has turned into countless knowledge, pouring into Ji Yang's mind, regardless of whether it is the flow of energy and blood in combat skills, which veins to follow, or what techniques there are. Ji Yang has become proficient in them. At this moment, he is the master of these combat skills. Unfortunately, Ji Yang is just a tree now and cannot use the Taizu Changquan because he has no hands. Huang-level high-grade skills can only be regarded as ordinary combat skills, but if the Chen family obtains them, it can also improve the family's combat effectiveness a lot. The most important thing is that Ji Yang can still transfer his skills. Although the number of times is a little less, it is still pretty good. Ji Yang's eyes skipped over the combat skills and looked back at this new technique, gathering Yin. This should be his biggest gain from this deduction. Absorbing Yin energy may also allow him to quickly increase his vitality. The more vitality he has, the greater Ji Yang's improvement will be. I don't know how the effect of gathering Yin is compared to a lunar eclipse. Ji Yang no longer hesitated and directly started the Yin gathering technique. With the operation of the technique, Ji Yang's body slowly began to change, just like it did before in the netherworld. First the roots, then the trunk, crown, branches and leaves. In the end, Ji Yang's trunk, branches and leaves all turned into deep black, and as long as Ji Yang stops the operation of his skills, he can change back to his previous appearance. This is the transformation of life forms introduced in the exercises. After transforming into a form, Ji Yang's vision also changed slightly. At this moment, he could see things that he could not see before, such as Yin Qi, but when Ji Yang glanced around the ancestral hall, the expression on his face was stagnant. What about the Yin Qi you promised? Yin Qi looks like gray mist. When he was in the nether world, Ji Yang could see it everywhere. Even a few meters away, there was overwhelming Yin Qi, making it difficult for him to see in the distance. This also made him grow very fast, but after returning to the real world, Ji Yang only saw a small amount of gray fog in the ancestral hall. To what extent, compared with the netherworld, it is probably a drop in the bucket, and based on Ji Yang's previous experience in absorbing Yin Qi, I'm afraid that even if he absorbs all the Yin Qi around him, he won't be able to increase his vitality much. This made Ji Yang fall into silence, and his previous thoughts disappeared at this moment. But then, Ji Yang cheered up again. In addition to gathering yin, he also had the magical power of condensing living souls, but before using this magical power, he needs to find a living soul. Ji Yang looked around again, but it was still empty. This was the Chen family's ancestral hall, not the netherworld. Where could there be so many souls? Wait, ancestral hall. Ji Yang turned and extended his gaze to the room in the Chen family ancestral hall. Directly in front of the room, there is a trapezoidal wooden grid, and on each floor of the wooden grid are placed several spiritual tablets, which are the deceased ancestors of the Chen family. At the bottom, there are 3 brand new spiritual tablets, which are the 3 clansmen who died in the battle with the Li family. What Ji Yang was looking at this moment was not these spiritual tablets, but the pale white figures attached to these spiritual tablets. If it were normal, he would definitely not be able to see it, but now after the life form has changed, he can clearly see it. Isn't this the living soul in the netherworld? However, compared to the underworld, these living souls attached to the spiritual plane are more broken. There are many broken hands, broken legs, broken heads, and holes in the body. Even the color of the body is paler. Rather than saying that these are living souls, it is more appropriate to say that these are remnant souls. Moreover, the higher up the spiritual level of the family, the more damaged the living soul is, and there are even no souls in the uppermost levels. On the other hand, next to the 3 spirit tablets at the bottom, there were 3 living souls with clear appearance and dull eyes. At this time, these 3 people were wandering around, not knowing why. After finding the living soul, Ji Yang did not hesitate and directly activated his underground roots to drill out from the soil under the tree trunk. Originally, Ji Yang's roots were brown-gray, but now they were pitch black, but it was precisely because of this that the living souls could be bound. Soon, the 20 or so broken living souls in the ancestral hall were pulled in one by him. Although the introduction of the magical power was quite clear, Ji Yang did not understand the specific effect of this magical power, so he could only experiment first. Ji Yang used his roots to catch a living soul, and then used the magical power to gather the soul. After using it, the living soul in Ji Yang's hand disappeared, and the vitality did not decrease. This made Ji Yang wonder, failed. Ji Yang did not believe in evil and continued the experiment. Anyway, these living souls had no memory and would disappear sooner or later, so it didn't matter if he used them for experiments. Ji Yang continued the experiment, but failed 5 times in a row. Not a single one succeeded. Ji Yang studied the introduction of the magical power of gathering souls again. Didn't it say that a certain amount of vitality was needed? If he didn't consume it, he must have failed. Could it be because these souls were too broken? Ji Yang was angry. There were more than 20 souls here. He didn't believe that he couldn't succeed in one. Soon, the souls disappeared from Ji Yang's roots. When Ji Yang wanted to continue the experiment, he found that there were no other souls around the ancestral hall. All the souls were used by him. This made Ji Yang feel disappointed. Chapter 42 Green Fruit. You are listening at novelfull.audio. If the living souls cannot be condensed, then naturally there will be no army of living souls. As for the yin gathering technique, its effect was really poor. He absorbed all the yin qi around him, but it failed to increase his vitality. It can be seen that this technique has little effect on him. It can be said that it has no effect. If gathering yin and condensing souls are not enough, then the final armor covering will become a castle in the air. After all, the introduction above is to cover the leaf armor for the living soul. Ji Yang sighed in his heart. He thought he would make a lot of money, but he didn't expect that he would lose blood. The most useful thing was the Taizu Chang fist, a yellow-level combat skill. The night is getting darker, and the autumn moon is like a hook. Ji Yang's branches and leaves flickered with light fluorescence again, but just when Ji Yang was about to absorb the moonlight, he suddenly discovered that there seemed to be something extra on his branches and leaves. Wait, where did these more than 20 green fruits come from? Looking at the extra fruits on the branches and leaves, Ji Yang thought he had seen a ghost. When Ji Yang carefully counted the fruits on his branches and leaves, he was suddenly startled. Isn't this the number of living souls he had just absorbed? Therefore, the magical soul gathering just now did not fail, but succeeded, and these living souls did not disappear, but turned into green fruits on their own branches. At this time, these green fruits were only the size of a grain of blood rice, but Ji Yang could clearly feel that they were growing rapidly. After thinking about the introduction of magical powers, Ji Yang's heart tightened. It's broken, his life force, but when Ji Yang opened the panel again, the original vitality of 30.4 was reduced by 0.2 to only 30.2. These vitalities are his foundation, so Ji Yang will never remember it wrong, even if it is just a decimal point. That's not all. The most important thing is that when Ji Yang was observing, his vitality was reduced by 0.1. It can be seen that these growing green fruits are consuming their own vitality all the time. If this continues, how much life force will these green fruits consume? Ji Yang was a little unsure, but he didn't act rashly for a moment. He could remove these green fruits one by one, thinking that would not consume his life force, but this represented the success of the soul-gathering magical power, and there were few souls around. If the green fruits were removed, the magical power would definitely fail. What's more, although their vitality is decreasing, the growth rate of these green fruits is quite fast. After thinking for a moment, Ji Yang no longer worried. He now has 30 points of vitality, and after 5 times the deduction, he still has 54 points of vitality and blood, which can be converted into more than 20 points of life. In addition, he can absorb the moonlight every night. How much of his life force can these green fruits consume? In this case, it is better to see what this green fruit can grow into in the end. The appearance of Changquan also made Ji Yang not rush to cancel the yin gathering technique. He was worried that the change in life form would make the magical power ineffective. Of course, the more important reason is that he found that he could operate both yin ju and lunar eclipse at the same time, without conflict between the two. The yin qi gradually becomes stronger at night, and Ji Yang absorbs more and more yin qi. Although the vitality has not increased due to the increase of yin qi, Ji Yang can feel that the green fruits on the branches and leaves are growing faster due to the gathering of yin qi. The night was sultry, but on the trail 10 miles away from the Li family, there was a chilling atmosphere. In the middle of the path, dozens of people were trapped in place. These were all members of the Li family, but if you look closely, you can see that there are no young people among the dozens of people, but mostly old people, women and children. Surrounding them is the Chen family who sent out family warriors today. Clan leader, Li Yongqing, Li Kaoyang, and the remaining warriors of the Li family have not been found. On the side, Chen Tianyu said solemnly, during the family's sacred tree ceremony, most of the clan members had already sent out to search for information about the remaining members of the Li family. A few days after the sacred tree festival, the family soon made a discovery and found the hiding place of the Li family. However, Chen Xingzhen was not in a hurry to take action at that time. Although the Li family's situation was over, the remaining people had to be careful about their counterattack. After the sacred tree sacrifice, the clan members were blessed by the sacred tree. Not only did their injuries recover, but their confidence also greatly increased, which was perfect for the complete elimination of the Li family, so he personally led people to chase him. But I never expected that the team discovered this time were just ordinary people from the Li family. As expected of the current leader of the Li family, he actually gave up most of the clan. He is indeed courageous, Chen Xingzhen said with a hint of admiration in his eyes, but the more such an enemy he is, the more he doesn't want to let it go. If the Li family is not completely eliminated, I am afraid that the family will still be in crisis in the future. Send people to continue searching and expand the scope. Chen Xingzhen issued the order again. Clan leader, what should we do with these people? Chen Tianyu asked, pointing to the other members of the Li family who were looking panicked and fearful. Kill them all. Listening to the chilling voice coming from Chen Tianzhen's mouth, Chen Tianyu's heart skipped a beat and he said hurriedly. Clan leader, most of these people are just old, weak, sick and disabled. They do not pose a great threat to the family. In my opinion, it is better to expel them from the mass burial mountain. Tianyu, you must not be merciful. These people seem to be no threat, but their relatives are all members of the Li family. Once given the chance, they will never let go of their hatred because of your kind deed today. Family wars are no child's play. If the Li family wins this time, how many members of the Chen family do you think will be left? Listening to the heavy words in his ears, Chen Tianyu murmured. But the rest of the words never came out. He also understood that the family war was not a war between one or two people, but involved the entire family, but he really couldn't bear it. You go back first, let Tianjing handle the things here. Well, okay. Looking at Chen Tianyu's back as he left, Chen Xingzhen sighed. Tianyu has a steady personality. He doesn't panic when encountering major events, and he can make suggestions. But in this regard, he is too kind. He is old. Although he is now in the late stage of blood coagulation, the decline of blood and energy still makes him a little powerless, especially this family crisis, which makes him lose a lot of mind. Even if he gets treatment from the sacred tree, it can't make up for it, unless he breaks through the innate realm. The blood, tendons and bones in his body will be integrated into one, and then he can add a few dozen years of life. But the innate realm is so difficult, and he has no chance. After completely solving the Li family, he should also consider who will succeed him as the next patriarch, but it's too early to think about it now. It won't be too late to talk about it after the Li family is dealt with. Last time he was treated by the sacred tree, he still had 10 years to live. 10 years, I think it's enough. Chen Xingzhen turned around and left, turning a deaf ear to the voice behind him. Chapter 43 Divine Fruit. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chief, many of the clan members are injured. Can we stop and rest? In the mass burial mountain, a member of the Li clan, who was in tattered clothes and looked exhausted, asked Li Yongqing behind him. No, keep going. We must walk another 20 miles tonight. I'll go to the front to open the way later. Li Yongqing, who was left behind, said firmly, and carefully looked around. It has been 2 days since they left the family and entered the mass burial mountain, but in these 2 days, they have only walked less than 100 miles, not even 1/5 of the distance of the mass burial mountain, and the reason is needless to say. The terrain of the mass burial mountain is complex. The road is rugged, there are thorns from time to time, and there are fierce beasts. The closer to the center of the mass burial mountain, the higher the level of the fierce beast. Although the group of 20 people are all the younger generation of the family, and there are many warriors in the early stage of the tempering body realm, they have no experience in going deep into the mass burial mountain. The harsh environment and many other factors made their pace of progress slow. But Li Yongqing looked resolute, and did not give up because of the difficulties on the road. There are many roads leading to the outside of the mass burial mountain, but when he discussed the escape route with Li Kailiang, he excluded all other paths and chose to cross the mass burial mountain to avoid the pursuit of the Chen family. As for the rest of the family, if he took them, it is very likely that the entire family would be implicated, so he could only choose to give up. The Chen family certainly could not guess that they would cross the mass burial mountain, right? Even if they knew, they might not dare to send people to hunt them down. After all, there were not many blood coagulation warriors in the Chen family. But considering other factors, the family still needs to leave the mass burial mountain as soon as possible. This is also the only chance for the family. As long as they can leave the mass burial mountain safely, with the remaining warriors in the family now, they can start a new business and revive the family. In the past, the ancestors of the Li family were able to establish the current Li family alone, and now the family conditions are better. He, Li Yongqing, can do it too. The difficulties of the mass grave mountain are the cornerstone for training the younger generation of the family. Chief, there is a problem with the sacred tree. The next day, before Chen Xingzhen walked out of the room, he heard the panicked shouts of the clan members. He returned at midnight yesterday and wanted to take a rest, but after hearing that there was a problem with the sacred tree, Chen Xingzhen's face panicked, and then he rushed to the family ancestral hall without stopping. The sacred tree is now the key to the rise of the family, and there must be no problems. When Chen Xingzhen rushed to the ancestral hall, many clan members had gathered under the sacred tree. At this moment, these clan members looked panicked and kept whispering about something, but they did not dare to get too close. Seeing this, Chen Xingzhen's heart sank slightly. If there was a problem with the family's sacred tree now, it would definitely be a fatal blow to the family. Everyone make way, the chief is here. Seeing Chen Xingzhen coming, many clan members stopped talking and made way. Chen Xingzhen's eyes were calm and he slowly approached the sacred tree. He is the patriarch of the family and the core pillar of the family. Even if he wanted to run over to check at this moment, he still had to show a calm and natural expression on his face. Even so, Chen Xingzhen's pace could not help but slightly speed up. When Chen Xingzhen walked under the sacred tree, he finally saw the current situation of the sacred tree. The sacred tree that was full of vitality and vigor before has undergone a huge change. Not only did the trunk turn dark black, but even the branches and leaves were not spared. This situation made Chen Xingzhen feel cold in his heart. Could it be that there was really something wrong with the sacred tree? But as the Patriarch, why didn't he receive the reminder from the sacred tree? By the way, he was busy tracking down the Li family yesterday and returned in the middle of the night, so he didn't have time to come. Chen Xingzhen regretted it in his heart, but at this moment he suddenly found that there were dozens of thumb-sized light green fruits growing on the branches of the sacred tree. This discovery made Chen Xingzhen's eyes show a trace of shock. The family sacred tree actually bore fruit. In the past, he had heard from the elders of the family that the fruit of the sacred tree was often an opportunity for the clan members when the sacred tree matured. It is said that the family's sacred tree had bloomed and borne fruit, bringing great improvement to the family. Unfortunately, he was still young at that time and rarely had the opportunity to enter the ancestral hall, and had never seen such a scene. Moreover, he heard that it would take a few months or even years for the sacred tree to bloom and bear fruit, but now, isn't it too fast? Chen Xingzhen was a little unsure in his heart. At this time, the clan members behind him saw that Chen Xingzhen had been silent for a long time, and began to discuss in a low voice again. Quiet, no noise in the ancestral hall. Chen Xingzhen interrupted the discussion of the clan members, and then turned around and said, "The family sacred tree breeds the sacred fruit, so it will change. This is the opportunity of the family, you don't have to worry." After hearing Chen Xingzhen's explanation, everyone's face relaxed, and when they looked at the sacred fruit on the tree, there was a hint of expectation in their eyes. They were very curious about what kind of fruit the family sacred tree could grow. After resolving the matter, Chen Xingzhen quickly left the ancestral hall. According to his observation just now, the sacred tree had no worries about its vitality, but some changes had occurred in all aspects. As for the fruit of the sacred tree, he still needed to go back and look through some of the family's remaining information to see what was going on. He also thought about temporarily closing the ancestral hall and prohibiting the clan members from worshipping, but considering that the grand sacrifice of the sacred tree had just begun, it was not appropriate to close the ancestral hall in order to consolidate the tribe's faith and strengthen the cohesion of the tribe. Moreover, wouldn't this tell the tribe that something was really wrong with the sacred tree? Since the sacred tree had no warning, it meant that these changes were normal. However, Chen Xingzhen then sent 2 people to pay attention to the situation of the sacred tree, and immediately tell him if there were any other changes in the sacred tree. After returning to the room, Chen Xingzhen began to look through the remaining materials in the tribe. The fruiting of the sacred tree also caused a lot of fluctuations in the tribe, causing many tribesmen to go to the ancestral hall to worship every day and take a look at the fruit of the sacred tree. Because Li Yongcheng and others were not found, most of the warriors of the family had not returned yet and did not know about the changes in the sacred tree. On the second day of the fruiting of the sacred tree, everyone went to watch again. Then they were surprised to find that the fruit that was only the size of a thumb yesterday had grown a lot today, and it was already half the size of an egg, and the color of the green fruit was also changing towards grayish-white. Such a fast growth rate makes everyone feel odd. It is worthy of being the family's sacred tree. Chapter 44. He is really my father. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the third day, the fruit had already faded from its green color and completely turned grayish-white, and in the middle of the grayish-white fruit, there were some raised spots, as if something was growing out of it. However, this did not affect the tribesmen's observation and awe, but instead they were full of expectations. In the ancestral hall, Ji Yang was also staring at the fruits that were gradually growing, thinking in his heart. These fruits had consumed 12 points of his vitality in just 3 days, an average of 4 points per day. In other words, the vitality he had absorbed from the moonlight in these 3 days was finally turned into nutrients for these fruits, and he had to pay 1.6 vitality every day. Even so, Ji Yang still did not take any measures. He could feel that the fruit would mature in a few days. He also wanted to see what the fruit would look like after he used his soul-gathering magic. On the 4th day of the fruit's growth, the spots that had appeared before gradually took shape. They grew out from one side of the fruit, making the fruit, which was almost the size of a fist, look a little ugly. Many family members were even more surprised after seeing this. At this time, Changquan, the patriarch of the family, was still looking through the remaining information of the family, trying to find the answer to the fruit of the sacred tree. As for the fact that the fruit of the sacred tree has grown day by day in the past few days, he has heard about it, but he has not checked it himself. On the fourth night, the moonlight was shining. Ji Yang absorbed the moonlight and the yin qi while looking at the fruit on his body that had gradually turned pale white. At this time, the white fruit was already the size of a fist, and the shape was more distinct and layered. When Ji Yang looked at these white fruits again, he felt something was wrong. The fruit was still small in the first 2 days, and the spots were not prominent, so nothing could be seen. But as the white fruit grew in the past 2 days, the spots on the fruit became more obvious. Late at night, Ji Yang looked at these white fruits again under the moonlight. You don't know until you see it, and you will be shocked when you see it. At some point, the spots on these white fruits have turned into human facial features, and these fist-sized white fruits have now turned into their heads. The faces on the white fruits are of different shapes, and their eyes are closed, as if they are still waiting for the white fruits to mature. Looking from a distance, the dark sacred tree has disappeared in the dark night, and only the fluorescent leaves are shining in the moonlight. What is shocking and terrifying is that under the countless shining leaves, there are dozens of fruits with facial features. These fruits are reflected in the moonlight, revealing a deep and mysterious feeling. Fortunately, there is no one in the ancestral hall, otherwise they will be shocked by the current scene. After being surprised, Ji Yang's heart has returned to normal. It's not like he hasn't seen fruits with facial features before, such as the ginseng fruit. However, it was still difficult for Ji Yang to accept that it grew from his body. He is the family's sacred tree, representing the glory of the family. Now, he looks more like a demon tree, and the Qin family is the evil slave who worships this demon tree. Ji Yang shook his head secretly in his heart, and threw away the irrelevant thoughts in his mind. In fact, the fruit looks like this, and Ji Yang has already guessed it in his heart. After all, this fruit grew because he used the soul-gathering magic. Obviously, this is related to the living souls in the ancestral hall before. The appearance of 3 of the fruits is also clearly the 3 members of the clan who died in the battle. Perhaps after the fruit is ripe, the soul-gathering magic is considered to be completed. I don't know what the difference is between these fruits that have been transformed once and the living souls in the netherworld before. Even if it is a little unpleasant, Ji Yang still has expectations in his heart. I just don't know what kind of wave the Qin family will set off tomorrow. Fortunately, several blood coagulation warriors in the family have not returned yet, and only Changquan is in the clan, so he doesn't have to worry about being chopped by the clan members. The next day, dawn, Changquan took a broom, pushed open the door of the ancestral hall, and began to sweep the dust in the ancestral hall. The family ancestral hall represents the family's face, and now there is a sacred tree, so of course it has to be swept every day. After the great sacrifice to the sacred tree, many clansmen wanted to exchange jobs with him, but he certainly didn't want to do it. Now that the sacred tree has appeared, how can he miss such a good opportunity? Maybe he has a fate with the family's sacred tree and can get the blessing of the sacred tree. This is what the clan leader said. As long as you are in awe, you will have the opportunity to get the blessing of the sacred tree. Halfway through the sweep, Changquan walked towards the sacred tree, ready to worship it again. And by the way, take a peek at the fruit of the sacred tree while worshipping. The clan leader said that you can't look directly at the sacred tree on weekdays, which is a great disrespect to the sacred tree. While worshipping, Changquan looked at the sacred tree above, but the next moment, Changquan showed fear on his face and his body stagnated. In his sight, a white fruit with facial features was quietly hanging on a branch. Although the white fruit's eyes were closed, he felt that the white fruit seemed to be looking at him and looking at him. This scene frightened him so much that his heart suddenly tightened. When he turned his head to look at the whole sacred tree, he immediately found that the tree was full of white fruits with human faces. Seeing this scene, Changquan could no longer suppress the fear in his heart, and hurriedly ran outside, shouting at the same time. "What's going on?" Changquan's shouting quickly attracted many tribesmen to come and check. "Uncle, ancestral hall, sacred tree." After seeing the person coming, Changquan pointed to the ancestral hall with some fear. Hearing this, everyone stopped delaying, thinking that an enemy had entered the ancestral hall and wanted to destroy the family's sacred tree. after arriving at the ancestral hall, everyone did not find anyone else, and then turned their eyes to the family sacred tree. Ah! What is this? Hiss! How can these fruits grow like this? Seeing the white fruit today, the crowd heard the shocked voices of the tribe members. Even though it was the family sacred tree, many tribe members still showed panic at this moment, because this was even more shocking than the innate beasts to them. Someone immediately left the ancestral hall to report to Changquan, but after all, it was the family's sacred tree, and although everyone was terrified, they did not retreat. After taking a closer look, a tribe member frowned as he looked at the white fruit on the tree. Why did he feel that the faces on these white fruits looked familiar? At this time, a light flashed in his eyes, and he hurriedly pulled another tribe member beside him and said, "Tianquan, look at that fruit, does it look like your father?" Tianquan, who was standing by, was still frightened by the scene in front of him, but after hearing this, his expression suddenly changed. He lost his father at a young age, which was a pain in his heart. How could he tolerate the tribe members making such a joke now? He immediately said angrily, "Why don't you say it looks like your father?" "No, Tianquan, I didn't scold you, look carefully. It's the one hanging on the rightmost branch of the sacred tree." Seeing that the tribe member looked sincere and didn't seem to be joking, Tianquan suppressed his anger and looked in the direction he pointed. When he saw the unprepossessing fruit on the branch, Tianquan's anger disappeared, and with surprise in his eyes, he exclaimed, "Dad? It's really my dad." Chapter 45 All hung on the tree. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The shout from Tianquan also startled the others. When they looked carefully at the faces on the white fruits, they were all shocked. "Is that the great uncle? That looks like my uncle. That fruit looks a bit like my grandfather. Why is my father hanging on the tree?" Woohoo! The crowd was noisy and uneasy, and countless clansmen came to recognize their relatives after hearing the news. Although there were spirit tablets in the family ancestral hall, there were no portraits of the deceased family elders. Seeing the portraits and thinking of the deceased made it difficult for many clansmen to calm down. "What did you say?" In the room, Changquan stood up suddenly and looked at the clansman in front of him. "Clan leader, go and have a look. Those fruits are too unusual. I didn't dare to look at them for too long." After getting the confirmation from the clansman, Changquan immediately quickened his pace and ran towards the ancestral hall. The clansman came to report yesterday that the sacred tree was normal. Why did such a big change happen so early this morning? In the past few days, he looked up the remaining family information and found a little information about the fruits of the family's sacred tree, but the description was completely different from the fruits on the sacred tree today. This made him feel more and more uneasy, and it seemed to be fulfilled today. Unfortunately, the elders of the family in the past are now buried, and he can't know the reason for this from other people in the family. In addition, when the family migrated here, they accidentally broke the secret technique of communicating with the sacred tree, so he couldn't get the specific situation from the sacred tree. Before Changquan walked to the ancestral hall, he heard the cries of many clansmen. They were still shouting words like uncle, grandfather. This made Changquan frown even more. What happened here? Quickly make way, the clan leader is coming, the clan leader is coming. The arrival of Changquan calmed down the emotions of many clansmen a little. After all, the current situation is really puzzling, and they are eager to know the reason for this situation. Changquan, who was being watched by many tribesmen, did not care about his identity as the tribe leader this time. Instead, he took 2 steps at a time and quickly rushed to the bottom of the ancestral hall. When Changquan saw the white fruits with human faces in front of him, even though he had seen many scenes, he could not help but stand there in a daze. What is that? Changquan's eyes swept over the white fruits one by one, and the expression on his face changed from the initial calmness to the current shock and bewilderment. Looking at the faces on the white fruits, Changquan's slightly wrinkled eyes became a little moist. It was because he saw the dead tribesmen and elders in these faces, and the scenes of the past also emerged from his mind at this moment. Those were all faces he had met in his dreams. When Changquan looked up at the white fruit on the top of the sacred tree, he could no longer suppress the grief in his heart, and immediately knelt on the ground, crying out sadly. "Dad, Many tribesmen behind him were confused when they saw this, but they saw that the tribe leader was kneeling and crying. Other tribesmen could not hold back their sadness at this moment, and they cried together while looking at the face on the white fruit. For a while, the whole ancestral hall was filled with the sorrow of the tribesmen. Outside the ancestral hall, Changquan and Changquan, who heard that something big had happened to the family, also rushed back from the fields quickly. At this moment, the two of them were still holding hoes for digging the ground. The family had a lot of work to do, and before winter came, the family wanted to plant a crop of blood rice. The two also wanted to contribute to the family, so they took the initiative to volunteer to plant the land and hone their bodies to reach the middle stage of the body-tempering realm as soon as possible. But when the two just arrived at the gate of the ancestral hall, they saw the tribe leader kneeling and crying. Facing the scene in front of them, the two scratched their heads helplessly. They were still young, and they didn't know the faces on the white fruit, so naturally they didn't have the same emotions as other tribesmen. However, one of the white fruits was somewhat similar to his brother Changquan. Just when Changquan was at a loss, Changquan suddenly asked, "Changquan, what should we call the clan leader's father?" After hearing this sudden question, Changquan was also stunned. Although they usually call the clan leader, according to the family hierarchy, they should call Changquan's fourth uncle. What do they call the fourth uncle's father? Changquan thought for a while, and the answer came to his eyes. Call him ancestor. But then Changquan shook his head suddenly. Is it time to think about this now? Qingmeng, let's go and find other family members. After saying that, Changquan pulled Qingmeng and ran. The scene in the ancestral hall had a great impact on him. Even the clan leader was kneeling on the ground and crying. He didn't know what to do. In this case, he naturally had to call for help. It's a pity that his father and his brother Changquan, several blood coagulation realm warriors, have been searching for the traces of the Li family outside these days and have not returned yet. Just as they were about to inform other members of the clan, they ran into several dusty figures at the gate of the clan. Changquan stopped to look, and then his face lit up. It turned out that his father and Changquan had returned. The two hurriedly ran towards them. Chen Tianjing and his friends who were returning from outside were also a little puzzled. Although the Li family was no longer a concern, why was there not even a guard at the gate of the clan? After returning to the clan, they did not meet many clan members. However, when they saw Changquan and Changquan running over, they also stopped. Dad, our ancestors are hanging on the tree, go and take a look. By the way, Brother Qingyu and your father are also hanging on the tree. Changquan said a little hastily and hurriedly. Chen Tianjing's expression changed as soon as Changquan blurted out his first sentence. When Changquan said the second sentence, Chen Tianjing felt even worse. He turned around and saw Changquan's face was gloomy. Chen Tianjing immediately said angrily, "You are a traitor, you treason, let's see if I don't beat you to death today." After saying that, Chen Tianjing had already untied the belt made of beetle sinew around his waist and was ready to take action. At this time, Changquan on the side also said anxiously, "What Qinghe said is true, they are all hanging on the tree." Seeing that the two of them didn't look like they were lying, Chen Tianyu frowned slightly, stopped Chen Tianjing who was about to take action, and then said, "Tianjing, don't be too busy doing it. Let's go to the ancestral hall quickly." "Little bastard, I'll deal with you when I get back." Chen Tianjing suppressed his anger and several people quickly rushed towards the ancestral hall. Before arriving at the ancestral hall, the three of them heard cries coming from the ancestral hall. This made the three of them feel cold and quickened their pace. When the three of them entered the ancestral hall, they saw many clansmen kneeling and crying. This made the three of them feel even worse. Looking at the white fruits on the sacred tree in front of them, their expressions changed. However, the three of them are also blood coagulation realm warriors. Especially after seeing the obviously abnormal scene in front of them, they were wary and did not fall into it. "Where is the Patriarch? Where is the Patriarch?" Chen Tianjing asked while grabbing the clansman who was still crying for his father and mother. Window_tabula equals window_tabula_tabula. Push, mode, thumbs, feed, 01, container. Tabula, below, article, thumbnail, 300x250, placement, below article thumbnail, 300x250, target_type, mix. Chapter 46 The Patriarch is crazy again. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Such a big thing happened in the family, why is the patriarch not here? This makes no sense. Clan leader. The tribesman whose cry was interrupted scratched his head, seeming to recall where the tribe leader was, but soon, he remembered it, pointed at the figure in the front and said. Isn't that right? That the three of them looked in the direction he pointed, with a hint of astonishment on their faces. They hadn't noticed it just now, but now when they saw the figure from behind, wasn't this the clan leader they were looking for? But this made a few people feel colder. They had not been in the clan for a few days. They did not expect such a big thing to happen in the clan. Looking at the family's sacred tree, their whole bodies changed even more. What on earth is going on? Has the patriarch gone crazy again? Ahead, Changquan's emotions gradually calmed down. When the family migrated here all the way, it was my father who led the family members through all the obstacles. It took more than 20 years for the family to leave their original location and arrive at the mass burial mountain. During this period, the family also stayed in other places, but failed due to various resistances, and finally came to mass burial mountain to thrive. In those more than 20 years, the family elders passed away one after another, and he also went from a boy of about 10 years old to the age of 60 now. Ever since he became the patriarch of the family, he didn't know how much responsibility and expectations he had shouldered. Family responsibilities and expectations made him dare not stop for a moment. Every time he recalled the time he spent growing up under the wings of his father and many elders, he missed it even more. It was precisely because of this that when he saw Changquan, who looked like his father, he suddenly lost his composure. This emotion was so intense that it made him forget his current status as a clan leader. However, Changquan's questioning voice just behind him made him regain his senses. Now that he is the leader of the clan, how could he be so outrageous? And seeing his father and some family elders again today also made him fulfill the last wish in his heart. Changquan, who had regained his status as the clan leader, quickly wiped away the tears on his face, and then stood up slowly with a calm expression, as if the old man who just covered his face and cried was someone else. Quiet. After regaining his composure, Changquan turned to look at the other tribesman, slowly raised his hand to stop the tribesman from crying, and then said with a solemn expression. It is a critical moment for the sacred tree to give birth to the sacred fruit. From today onwards, the ancestral hall will be temporarily closed, and no one in the clan will disturb the sacred tree. Anyone who needs to worship the sacred tree must do so with my permission. After issuing several orders, Changquan once again restored the majesty of the clan leader, and the clan members below had no objections. Today, they were able to catch a glimpse of the deceased elders in their family, which also made them feel a lot calmer. However, many tribesmen are still a little curious about these ginkgo fruits, but now that the ancestral hall is temporarily closed, they have no other choice. At the gate of the ancestral hall, Changquan and the others, who were still a little flustered at first, breathed a sigh of relief when they saw this. Fortunately, the patriarch is not crazy yet, and the family can still be saved. Tianjing, have you ever traced the whereabouts of the Li family? After many clan members retreated from the ancestral hall, Changquan asked the three people who came back. Hearing Tianjing ask about business, the three of them also hurriedly replied. Clan leader, I traveled all the way to the southeast and searched for more than 100 miles, but I didn't find any remnants of the Li family. Clan leader, I searched all the way to the northwest, but I didn't find anyone from the Li family. Changquan listened to the two people's reports quietly, his expression as usual. Although the Li family was defeated and fled, they had been operating in the burial mountain for a long time. If there were no secret passages or hiding places, he would definitely not believe it. However, after the two men had been tracking for so long, they still found no trace of the group, which showed that the Li family had other ideas. They also inquired about the group of people who caught the Li family's abandonment, but did not get any results. It can be seen that Li Yongqing did not tell them, and even those people themselves did not know that they had been abandoned. Only by hiding it from your tribe can you hide it from your enemies. I've made some discoveries here. Changquan's words instantly attracted the attention of three people. After discovering the hiding place of the Li family, we only found one path. It can be seen that the Li family had not dispersed at that time, so I followed the footsteps of the Li family members that I found a few days ago, and finally found a path. Some traces were found in Chadao. Well, Qingyu, keep talking. Chen Xingzhen nodded after hearing this. Although the traces were slight and even actively covered up, there were still some flaws left. I tracked them all the way and finally arrived within the hunting range of the Li family's mass burial mountain. Hearing this, Chen Xingzhen suddenly realized, so that was the case, so he asked why the family sent so many people to search, but still no clues were found. You must know that even if the Li family abandoned a group of people, there are still about 20 people left. The traces of so many people cannot be completely hidden. Now it seems that everything has the answer. They actually entered the mass burial mountain. Chen Xingzhen had not thought about this before. After all, there were many dangers in the mass burial mountain. Not only were there many ferocious beasts, but there were also snakes, insects, rats, and ants among them. The terrain was complex and rugged and difficult to navigate. Even a warrior would not move forward rashly without some preparation. Although the Li family took away the only remaining elites in the clan, they were not too old and did not have much experience. Moreover, it was difficult to bring so many clan members through the mass burial mountain. It cannot be said in one word. Thinking of this, Chen Xingzhen sighed again. Li Yongqing is a man of great courage. Patriarch, should we continue to pursue? Chen Tianjing asked. Although the Li family fled to the mass grave, the family hatred may not fade away for 100 years. If it is not eradicated, it may be detrimental to the future development of the family. Chen Xingzhen thought for a while after hearing this, then shook his head slowly. Don't chase after a desperate enemy. The terrain of the burial mountain is complex, and there are many fierce beasts in the mountain, which are difficult to track. In addition, Li Yongqing and Li Kaiyang are both good hunters. They are likely to have set traps along the way. Besides, it has been a long time. I think they have already walked half of the way. If we continue to chase them, it will be disadvantageous to the family. Chen Tianjing frowned slightly. But clan leader, should we just let them go? We can enter the burial mountain through the family's secret passage and block their way in advance. After hearing this, Chen Xingzhen smiled indifferently. His Li family is just a defeated general, so what if he brings his clansmen? Now that the crisis of my Chen family has passed, and there is also the help of the sacred tree, can't the future development be better than his Li family? Besides, fierce beasts are rampant in the burial mountain, and there is also the innate blue wolf in the depths. What should they do if they encounter it? After hearing what Chen Xingzhen said, the three of them suddenly understood. Yes, they almost forgot about the innate blue wolf, and the family also has the sacred tree. Even if it is developing silently, how can his Chen family be weaker than the Li family? Thinking of the sacred tree, several people can't help but turn their heads to look. Patriarch, the sacred tree. Window_tabula equals window_tabula dot push, mode, thumbs, feed, 01, container, tabula, below, article, thumbnail, 300x250, placement, below article thumbnail, 300 by 250, target _type, mix. Chapter 47 Winter is coming. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hearing the questions from several people, Chen Xingzhen also sighed. I don't know what's going on. I plan to communicate with the sacred tree tonight and ask what's going on. If it were any other tribesman, he would certainly give a reasonable explanation, but he didn't have to hide it from Chen Tianjing and the other two. Seeing that the tribe leader didn't know the reason, the three of them couldn't help but frown slightly, but looking at the fruits with familiar faces on the tree, the three of them all stopped to watch and pondered for a long time. After a moment, Chen Xingzhen spoke again. Okay, now that the Li family has fled to the mass grave mountain, let's withdraw the clan members outside. Winter is coming, and the food in the clan is not enough to support the entire family through this winter. The most urgent thing is to see if we can continue to grow a crop of blood rice. Tianjing, this matter is your responsibility. Yes, clan leader. Qingyu, hunting is left to you. You can choose any warrior in the clan and go into the mountains to hunt, but remember not to go deep. Everything is based on the safety of the clan members. If you really meet a member of the Li clan, you must not pursue them rashly. When you return to the clan, you can make a long-term plan. Yes. Chen Qingyu nodded. Jianyu, you need to pay more attention to the Lu family. Now there are only 2 families left in the burial mountain, but the Lu family has not made any movement. I am really worried. In addition, you are also responsible for the physical training of the family warriors, especially the young people in the family, who need to be taught carefully. I understand. After the 3 left, Chen Xingzhen looked at the sacred tree again, but his eyes were unfocused, as if he was wandering in the sky. Although the family seems to be stable now, the previous battle with the Li family caused too much loss, and now the family's food reserves have been exhausted. Even relying on the blood rice seized from the Li family and the domestic animals raised is far from enough for the family members to survive this winter. Logically speaking, given the state of the Li family, there should not be only these reserves, but I don't know whether the Li family hid them somewhere or took them away, and the family did not find more blood rice, but relying on blood rice alone is not enough. Although the realm of the warriors in the family is not high, there are still many, especially for warriors in the tempering body realm. They need meat with enough blood and qi to nourish themselves, so that they can temper their bodies faster. Therefore, hunting is particularly important, which is related to the future of the family. In addition, now that the sacred tree has revived, we have to resume worship. According to the previous clan rules, the sacred tree needs a small sacrifice every 3 days and a big sacrifice every 7 days. However, the situation in the clan is not good now, so it is better to sacrifice every 7 days. But even if it is a sacrifice every 7 days, the number of fierce beasts required will not be too small, especially after winter, when the mountains are closed by heavy snow. It will be difficult for even warriors in the blood coagulation realm to hunt after entering the mass burial mountain, so we have to prepare in advance. The weather in this world is particularly cold, and the mass burial mountain is even worse than other places. Although warriors in the tempering body realm have tempered their muscles, bones and flesh, they also need to pay attention to preventing cold, otherwise they will fall ill, and the blood and qi in their bodies will be difficult to flow smoothly, and it will become more difficult to advance to the blood coagulation realm. Warriors in the blood coagulation realm are not very afraid, but there are a few warriors in the blood coagulation realm in the family, and there are more people who are not even in the tempering body realm. Now it is only about 2 months away from the arrival of winter, and the family still has a lot of things to prepare, like warm clothes, firewood, etc. I don't know if it's too late. Chen Xingzhen gradually came back to his senses, and then looked at the endless sky. With a sigh in his heart, the power of heaven is so great that it is difficult to resist it with personal strength. So there is a family. Only when the family becomes stronger, the lives of the clan members will become better and they can reach a higher realm. When the clan members reach a higher realm, they will feed back to the family, and this cycle will eventually create a prosperous family. The road to the prosperity of the family is long and arduous. Fortunately, the family is now protected by the sacred tree, which is already far ahead of other families. Chen Xingzhen regained confidence in his eyes and turned to leave the ancestral hall. There are many matters of all sizes in the clan that need him to deal with. Finally, it's quiet. Looking at the empty ancestral hall again, Ji Yang's mood calmed down. The crying of the clan members just now made him feel overwhelmed, and he didn't know how many days it would take for the fruit to mature, but he felt as if he had forgotten something. The sound of leaves rustling in the breeze came from his ears, and Ji Yang also fell into memories. In the center of the mass grave mountain, the warriors of the Li family were gathered in a sunken valley, looking around with vigilance. At this moment, the clothes of the tribe members were all torn by the thorns in the mountain, and their bodies were covered with bloodstains. Many tribe members groaned and looked painful. The pain on the body could still be endured, but the fear in the heart was revealed in the eyes of every tribe member. Yongqing, a few more tribe members were injured just now. What should we do next? Li Kaiyang approached slowly and asked Li Yongqing, who was thinking on the side. Even though he was a warrior in the late stage of blood coagulation, he still couldn't hide the fatigue on his face at this moment. He had been injured when fighting with the Chen family before. In the past few days, the family needed him to lead the way in front of them. Even with his extraordinary perception, which allowed him to bypass the territories of those beasts. There were still some accidents from time to time. For example, just now, the family encountered a beast in the middle stage of the blood coagulation realm that was looking for food. Although the beast was killed, several tribesmen were slightly injured. What made Li Kaiyang feel even more uneasy was the loud wolf howl that came to his ears when the group entered the center of the mass grave mountain. That was a sense of oppression that beasts of the same realm could not give him, and it was also the source of fear in the tribesmen. Although he was unwilling to believe it, the facts told him that it was definitely a beast of the innate realm, not to mention that there were only 2 blood coagulation realm warriors in the family, him and Li Yongqing. Even if there were 2 more, they would definitely not be its opponents. In addition, wolves are pack beasts. If they were to encounter one, I don't know how many tribesmen present would survive. He did not say this matter that affected the confidence of the tribesmen, but only told Li Yongqing. Hearing Li Cailiang's question, Li Yongqing said nothing, but just silently looked at the incomplete map in his hand. That was the topographic map of the mass grave mountain drawn by the tribesmen based on hunting. Unfortunately, there was only half of it, and there was a large blank in the center of the map. This time, he left the mass burial mountain with the intention of not only getting rid of the Qin family, but also perfecting the map in his hand. As long as the map can be perfected, they can completely break out from the back of the mass burial mountain and kill the Qin family by surprise. A few days ago, he thought that although it was difficult to pass through the mass burial mountain, there would be no big problem with him and his 5th uncle Li Kaiyang. But when he really went deep into the mass burial mountain, he realized that he had overestimated himself and his clansmen. There are many fierce beasts in the depths of the mass burial mountain, and their realms are not low. There are many fierce beasts in the blood coagulation realm. The clansmen are not at a high level and have not experienced the baptism of blood. The continuous journey in the past few days and the complex environment have made many clansmen lose confidence. The wolf howl before became the last straw that overwhelmed the clansman. When he learned that the wolf howl was made by a fierce beast in the innate realm, Li Yongqing was also confused, but as the clan leader, he recovered quickly. But he also understood that if he didn't do something, let alone revenge, it would be a problem whether his family could leave this mass grave. Chapter 48 Secret Passage. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Looking at the map in his hand again, Li Yongqing already had a decision in mind: divert, detour. Although this will delay a lot of time, compared to meeting that innate level ferocious beast, the delay is nothing. Of course, he could also choose to bet that they wouldn't encounter the innate beast when they passed through, but he no longer had the capital to gamble. Even if there was only 1 in 10,000 chance of encountering that innate level ferocious beast, he couldn't afford to gamble. Fortunately, there is good news, that is, they have not sensed anyone following them in the past few days. Either the Qin family didn't realize they were leaving via the mass burial mountain, or they didn't pursue them. Li Yongqing felt that the latter was more likely, but this meant that they had enough time to take a detour. Li Yongqing stood up, ready to explain the next road to the tribe, and to encourage the tribe to let them know that the family had great hope of leaving the mass burial mountain this time. But just as he was preparing to make an argument, Li Cailiang's expression suddenly changed and he hurriedly said, Yongqing, there is a ferocious beast in the late stage of blood coagulation realm in the southeast approaching us. Li Yongqing's expression changed slightly. He didn't care about drawing cakes for his clan members anymore. He hurriedly put away the map in his hand and signaled his clan members to evacuate from the place. Today's team may be able to fight against the ferocious beasts in the late stages of the blood coagulation realm, but this is definitely the last resort. Although the tribesmen on the side who were preparing to rest were reluctant, they also understood that this was a matter of life and death, so they hurriedly got up from the ground and quickly moved away. Okay, it's gone. Li Kaiyang carefully leaned against the boulder behind him and breathed a sigh of relief. The other tribesmen were also paralyzed on the ground at this moment. Uncle Fifth, give way. At this time, Li Yongqing suddenly noticed the bluestone Li Kaiyang was leaning on and began to look at it carefully. Li Kaiyang had doubts on his face, but he moved away and looked over. After the 2 people looked at it, they quickly discovered the difference in the bluestone. This bluestone is too special. It seems to have been placed here intentionally. In addition, there are subtle marks on the left and right sides of the bluestone, which are the palm prints left by the warriors when they moved it. Although it is subtle, it is very obvious if you look closely. and there is a vague smell on the bluestone. This smell makes the two of them feel very familiar. Magnolia powder. The next moment, the two of them spoke in unison, and the colors in their eyes also changed slightly. Yongqing, get out of the way, I'll do it. Li Kaiyang, who noticed the human traces, moved the bluestone in front of him. Seeing this, other tribesmen also gathered around, with curiosity in their eyes. Rumble. The bluestone was quickly moved away by Li Kaiyang. As the bluestone moved away, a huge entrance to the secret passage appeared in front of several people. This scene made many tribesmen scream in shock. They did not expect that there was such a secret passage hidden deep in the mass burial mountain. When Li Yongqing looked at the secret passage in front of him, his heart suddenly became enlightened. The only ones who can establish a secret passage here are the three major families of mass burial mountain. The Lu family established the mass burial mountain not long ago, and this secret passage looks to be quite old. It was obviously not built by the Lu family, and it couldn't have been built by the Li family. It could only be the Chen family. No wonder that after the Chen family was completely surrounded, there was still no lack of food for the Chen family members. I guess they probably used this secret passage to hunt in Mass Burial Mountain. The look in Li Xiaoyang's eyes changed rapidly after he discovered the secret passage. He could guess that this secret passage would most likely lead to the ancestral hall of the Chen family. If he counterattacked now, would it be possible for the family to take revenge? But soon, Li Xiaoyang's eyes regained consciousness. His answer is no. Since the Chen family is not chasing them, there are at least 4 blood coagulation realm warriors in the family, including 2 late-stage warriors. With just the few people he has now, how can he be his opponent? If he enters through the secret passage now, he is just falling into a trap. There was another reason why Li Kaiyang didn't dare. The locust leaf he had seen before. He didn't know what the sacred tree that caused their family's collapse looked like. If circumstances didn't allow it, he really wanted to take a look at the so-called sacred tree. Yongqing, what should I do? Li Kaiyang on the side also guessed which side of the secret passage was on the other side. At this moment, he clenched his fists, and he had the intention of killing him if he had any disagreement. However, after remembering the previous battle, Li Xiaoyang's expression changed, and the anger in his heart gradually disappeared. Since the Chen family didn't come after them, they must have given up. In this case, the family's secret passage is still safe. Let the clan members rest here for the night and talk about it tomorrow. After that, Li Yongqing took the lead into the secret passage. Now that the clan members are exhausted, it would be great if they could have a safe place to rest for the night, and this secret family passage may be their opportunity in the future, so now they cannot be noticed by the Chen family. After entering the secret passage, the group was still cautious. After noticing that there was no movement from the other side of the secret passage, everyone relaxed. At night, the secret passage was dark, and most of the tribesmen had fallen asleep, but Li Yongqing looked at the other end of the secret passage and fell into deep thought. Yongqing, after leaving Mass Burial Mountain, have you thought about the future of your family? Beside, Li Kaiyang, who had not fallen asleep, suddenly asked. Li Yongqing was slightly startled, then nodded. Uncle Wu, as long as we can leave the Mass Burial Mountain, I have the confidence to make the family prosperous again. Li Kaiyang looked relieved and nodded with a smile. Okay, I feel relieved that you are in the family. Uncle Wu. Hearing Li Xiaoyang's obviously wrong tone, Li Yongqing, who was leaning against the secret passage, instantly straightened his back and looked at Li Kaiyang with a little doubt in his eyes. You have also seen the current situation of the family. Then I ask you, if you leave the Mass Burial Mountain, how sure are you to avenge the family? How many years will it take? After listening, Li Yongqing silently compared the current family with the Chen family, and then fell silent. Leaving the Mass Burial Mountain means that the fertile land and hunting and other resources that the family had previously operated are all gone, and they have to start all over again. Although he has the courage to start all over again and has the confidence to revive the family, facing the Chen family, which is now developing more vigorously, he really doesn't know how long it will take for the family to develop before revenge. Decades. Or maybe hundreds of years. Or maybe forever. Thinking of the locust leaf, Li Yongqing's eyes also showed a trace of confusion. Window_tabula equals window_tabula_tabula. Push mode. thumbs, feed, 01, container, tabula, below, article, thumbnail, 300x250, placement, below article thumbnail, 300 by 250, target underscore type, mix. Chapter 49, Climbing the Wall. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the dark night, Li Kaiyang smiled bitterly. It seems that you have figured it out. Now most of the resources in the mass grave mountain are occupied by the Qin family. In addition, the Qin family also has the so-called sacred tree to help. If nothing unexpected happens, in a few decades, the Qin family will become stronger and even far beyond its current size. If this goes on, what can my Li family do to compete with it? Li Yongqing became more and more silent. Indeed, with the previous family's strength, he was defeated by the Qin family. Even if he started a new family and redeveloped the family, could he compare with the Qin family with the sacred tree? In the long run, the gap between the two families will only get bigger and bigger. Why was the Qin family able to survive and turn defeat into victory? I guess it's probably because of the sacred tree. During the previous battle, I had seen the appearance of the sacred tree, which was planted in the Qin family ancestral hall. Now that this secret passage has been discovered, I think it must be God's help to my Li family. This secret passage is likely to lead to the Qin family ancestral hall. I can use the cover of night to go straight into the ancestral hall and destroy the sacred tree. Without the sacred tree, with your ability, you can definitely make the family prosperous again. It's only a matter of time before it surpasses the Qin family. Hearing the plan proposed by Li Kaiyang, Li Yongqing immediately objected. No, Uncle Wu, this is too risky. Li Kaiyang shook his head. I am old, and the late stage of blood coagulation is my limit. It is difficult for me to advance to the innate realm in this life. Even if I leave the mass grave mountain, it will not help the family much. Since you have decided to change the route, with your ability, you are enough to lead the clan members to leave the mass grave mountain safely. How can such a good opportunity be given up? Besides, the Qin family is now in ruins, and there may not be many people guarding the ancestral hall. With my strength in the late stage of blood coagulation, it is enough. Maybe I can destroy the sacred tree and leave through the secret passage. Then I will follow the route. After that, Li Kaiyang showed a trace of confidence in his eyes. This also made Li Yongqing swallow the persuasive words in his mouth. The family was defeated before, and he analyzed the reasons after the war. The most important reason is that those members of the Qin family who were seriously injured by the clan members recovered from their injuries in a few days, in addition to the strange locust leaves. This led to the final failure of the family. These two reasons are obviously related. To the extra sacred tree of the Qin family, if things can really go as Li Kaiyang planned, it will be a good thing for the family. It can not only curb the development of the Qin family, but also avenge the previous hatred. But he is worried that Uncle Wu will never come back this time, but he also understands that this seems to be the only thing the family can do now, and if it succeeds, it will be of great benefit to the family's revenge in the future. Reason and emotion collide. After a moment, Li Yongqing's eyes are calm. Uncle Wu, let's discuss the specific details. Okay. In the ancestral hall, Ji Yang is silently absorbing the moonlight and yin energy. Today is the 5th day of the growth of these white fruits. The white fruits, which were originally the size of a fist, have no significant changes in size, but the color on them has gradually changed from white to gray, and the faces on the fruits have become clearer and more vivid. Just as Ji Yang was concentrating on absorbing the moonlight, a sound of falling suddenly came from the ancestral hall. Ding! The sound of someone climbing over the wall and landing on the ground made Ji Yang's heart jump. Normal clan members would go through the main gate, so the one climbing over the wall must not be a good person, just like Qin Qinghe and Qin Qingmeng who came to secretly cut him in the middle of the night before. I thought they were the two who had made a comeback, but when Ji Yang looked over, he only found a figure. The figure was somewhat familiar, and the footsteps were even lighter. So that Ji Yang's roots buried underground did not notice it at the first time. At this moment, the figure was slowly approaching Ji Yang, but Ji Yang did not react much, just a little confused. The person who came was not someone else, but Qin Qingyu. If it was before, he would definitely be extremely worried. After all, Chen Qingyu's realm was not low, and he was disrespectful to his sacred tree. So he was really worried that Chen Qingyu would act impulsively, but now, he is not worried. As a genius of the younger generation of the family, Chen Qingyu originally just wanted the Patriarch to wake up from his obsession with the sacred tree and save the family, after using his magical powers and showing his power to rescue the Chen family. Although Chen Qingyu still seemed a little rebellious, he no longer had the original intention in his heart, and he was also dedicated and responsible in the previous hunting. In this case, Ji Yang naturally didn't have to worry about Chen Qingyu doing anything out of the ordinary, but he was still a little confused about why Chen Qingyu came here at this time. Chen Qingyu slowly approached and stopped 2 meters below the sacred tree. His eyes swept across Ji Yang's branches one by one, and finally stopped on a white fruit. Following Chen Qingyu's gaze, Ji Yang also looked at the white fruit. Without looking closely, Ji Yang already knew the reason. Because the face on the white fruit was 7 points similar to Chen Qingyu. It turned out that the one hanging on the tree was his father. Ji Yang's eyes swept across the spirit tablet in the ancestral hall and found the name of Chen Qingyu's father, Chen Tianshun, on it. The Tian generation is the same generation as Chen Tianyu and Chen Tianjing of the current family. Based on Chen Qingyu's age, Chen Tianshun should also be the oldest of the same generation, but logically speaking, he is only in his 40s or 50s now. I don't know why he died so early. Ji Yang ignored it and continued to absorb the moonlight. Chen Qingyu, who was standing under the tree, did not cry as sadly as other tribesmen. She just stood quietly under the moonlight, looking at the familiar face above, and many memories also came into her mind at this moment. For a long time, Chen Qingyu did not move. It was not until a slow footstep sounded outside the ancestral hall that Chen Qingyu came to his senses, and then quickly climbed over the wall and left the ancestral hall. But just as he climbed over the wall, his body suddenly stagnated and he almost fell off the wall. However, relying on the late stage of the blood coagulation realm, Chen Qingyu exerted force with both hands and finally left safely. Creaky. The door of the ancestral hall slowly opened. Ji Yang knew who the visitor was without even looking. After all, apart from the Patriarch Chen Xingzhen, few other people came in the middle of the night. After entering the ancestral hall, Chen Xingzhen did not rush to walk towards Ji Yang, but first took a look at the wall next to him. Although he was older, he was still a warrior in the late stage of blood coagulation. How could he have been hidden from the movement in the ancestral hall just now? Chen Xingzhen had guessed who was coming, but he was not ready to expose him. He just shook his head and sighed, and then approached the sacred tree with respect. Even though he had seen it for a long time before, when he saw the white fruit on the tree again, his mood became complicated. But he did not forget the purpose of coming here this time. Ji Yang knew his purpose, but he did not know how to communicate with Chen Xingzhen, the clan leader, but it was not important. Chapter 50 Taizu Changquan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Just when Chen Xingzhen was about to ask Ji Yang about the changes in the sacred tree, a ray of light suddenly flashed from the branches of Ji Yang above. This light flashed and disappeared, but it made Chen Xingzhen below pause. Before Chen Xingzhen could react, he felt a series of new memories suddenly emerge in his mind. Chen Xingzhen carefully comprehended the extra memories in his mind, and his eyes became brighter and brighter. This is a yellow-grade top-grade combat skill, Chen Xingzhen said in surprise. His face was overjoyed. No wonder he was so excited. According to the elders in the clan, when the family was glorious, there were many such combat skills, and even more powerful combat skills, but that was only the glorious time. He had only heard of it, but had never seen it. The family has been in decline until now. Let alone the yellow-grade top-grade combat skills, even ordinary yellow-grade combat skills, the family does not have it, let alone the yellow-grade top-grade. It is conceivable how the Chen family has declined now, so the combat skills he got in his mind would make him ecstatic. With this combat skill, the family's strength will definitely rise to a higher level, especially for the warriors in the blood coagulation realm. After possessing the combat skill, they will be even more powerful and their strength will be incomparable. Originally, I wanted to ask about the current status of the sacred tree, but now it seems that it is not necessary. The sacred tree is in good condition. After worshipping, Chen Xingzhen hurriedly left the ancestral hall. He needed to record this combat skill immediately and then pass it to the family warriors to enhance the family's strength. Since the sacred tree passed this combat skill to him, I think it also has this intention. Yes, Ji Yang did have this intention, otherwise he would not have chosen to pass on the skill to Qin Xingzhen. Taizu Changquan, yellow level superior combat skill, can be passed on once. When Ji Yang looked at the remaining number of times, he was thinking in his heart, who should he pass it on to this last time? Although Qin Xingzhen has already comprehended the combat skill of Taizu Changquan, he can even copy it down and let other clansmen learn it, but Ji Yang's passing on the skill is a little different. Fighting skills are not a quick way to master, but require self-understanding, practice, and finally integrate and master the skills to bring out the full power of the fighting skills. This process is not short. Those with talent may be able to get started in a few days, those with less talent may need several months. High-level fighting skills take longer. Ji Yang's teaching is equivalent to omitting the first step of learning, directly infusing the initial knowledge into their minds, allowing them to understand themselves and thus master them quickly. However, if you want to learn fighting skills more advanced, you still need your own efforts and hone them in continuous actual combat, but even so, it can save a lot of time for some warriors in the family. Unfortunately, Ji Yang can only teach a book of fighting skills 3 times. This last time, Ji Yang thought deeply, but he was not going to continue teaching. He also wanted to see if there were other people with good talents in the family, so as to choose one. Taizu Changquan, in the room, Qin Xingyu closed his eyes and felt what he had just got in his mind. It was because of this sudden memory that he almost fell off the wall, but after a sense, Qin Xingyu suddenly opened his eyes, and a bright color burst out of his calm eyes. Combat skills. Yellow grade superior combat skills. He had long wanted to see what combat skills looked like, but he didn't expect to have such a harvest when he went to the ancestral hall today. Qin Xingyu knew very well where the combat skills in his mind came from. Apart from the sacred tree, who else had such strength? Qin Xingyu silently experienced the running skills of Taizu Changquan, and as Qin Xingyu's combat skills were running, the blood and qi in his body also began to flow along the tendons and veins. Soon, the blood and qi in his body gathered in his palm along the special tendons and veins, but he couldn't express this blood and qi. The next moment, Qin Xingyu changed his palm into a fist, and the blood and qi also burst out suddenly with his move. Boom! The powerful blood and qi force flew out of his hand, and there was a loud bang. The door of the room was also blasted into wood chips at this moment. What's going on? What happened? It seems to be coming from Brother Qingyu's room. Go and have a look. The huge noise was particularly loud, and soon attracted many patrolling clansmen. It's okay, I accidentally broke the door when I was practicing just now. Qin Xingyu explained. The clansmen who came were relieved to see this. It was only a few days since the family war, and they were not completely at ease. They thought that the family was attacked just now. After seeing the result of Qin Xingyu's punch just now, several clansmen exclaimed. What is the strength of Brother Qinyu? It's really too strong. When can I reach Brother Qinyu's realm? After a sigh, several people immediately repaired the damaged door roughly, and then continued to patrol. After several people left, Qin Xingyu looked at his fists silently, with a hint of amazement in his eyes. He only used 5 points of his blood and energy in that attack just now, but he exerted a power that normally requires 7 points of blood and energy. The extra 2 points are the improvement brought by his fighting skills. If he used the Taizu Changquan to exert 100% of his blood and energy at this moment, he would be much stronger than before. Moreover, he felt that his fighting skills were just the beginning. The blood and energy were dispersed a lot when he threw the punch just now, which led to the destruction of the gate. If he can condense all the blood and qi he has used into 1 point without any waste, then this Taizu Changquan can be considered as a real entry, and in actual combat, Taizu Changquan has more changes. Thinking about the details, Qin Xingyu's eyes became brighter. Is this a fighting skill? It's even stronger than he imagined. But then Qin Xingyu frowned slightly. This kind of fighting skill should not belong to him alone, but to the whole family. If all the warriors in the family learn this Taizu Changquan, their strength will be stronger. Considering that the Patriarch has rested, Qin Xingyu decided to go there early tomorrow morning. Qin Xingyu, who has learned the fighting skill, did not plan to sleep, but continued to silently feel the operation of the fighting skill in his body, striving to learn it to perfection as soon as possible. In the ancestral hall, Ji Yang's consciousness had already spread out, and Qin Xingyu's Residence was not far from the ancestral hall, although the roots have not yet spread to his room. Ji Yang also felt the scene just now. Ji Yang had already mastered this fighting skill after understanding it, but he was also quite satisfied when he saw the punch that Qinqinyu had just thrown. Although Qinqinyu had already learned this fighting skill after he passed on his skills, he could see Qinqinyu's talent in this aspect from the punch just now. Given time, this boy will surely become the pride of the family. It seems that he needs to focus on training him in addition to developing the family.